In today's Health Matters, we are talking about keeping our hearts strong and healthy. And with me today is my favorite doctor of hearts, Dr. Shah with me. Good morning, doctor.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is very important. But let's first make sure we give people your credentials on why you are so important about heart healthy.
So I'm an interventional cardiologist. I am the executive director for cardiovascular services at HonorHealth here in town. And I'm passionate about heart disease and making sure that people don't need have invasive procedures for their heart and they take good care of their hearts to make sure that they live long and healthy lives.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a long talk with you, Dr. Shah, because I don't think it should just be 1 month. February should not be just the month of our hearts. It should be every day, every hour. So important. I think we forget how important this ticker is to keeping us alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time you gave me a chance to talk about some insights about women and heart disease, but it's important to recognize that men, unfortunately, also have a lot of heart disease.
Yeah.
Heart disease remains a #1 killer for men in the United States. So unfortunately, 1 in 4 men will die of heart disease. And so people like you and I are at risk. And half the guys that end up dying from heart disease never had any symptoms that they knew about before they have trouble with their heart.
So you just said right there, didn't have trouble or didn't know the symptoms. How do I know the symptoms? How do I know what's going on?
Yeah, so it's important to recognize anything that doesn't seem right to you, exertional shortness of breath, exertional chest pain, exertional fatigue. Those things are really markers of potentially having heart disease. And then equally important, it's to know your risk factors. There's some stuff that's out of our hands, getting older, your genetics or your family history of heart disease, but there's a lot of stuff that's in our hands. High blood pressure, knowing your cholesterol numbers, knowing your glucose numbers. Those things are really crucial, and about 80 to 90% of all heart disease can be prevented if we focus on those numbers. So it is important that you know your numbers.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some myths or some people saying some things, and especially when it comes to aspirin. Everyone's like, oh, keep aspirin in your pocket, take dozen of those, and you're going to have a fine heart.
Yeah, so we've evolved in our thinking about aspirin. So aspirin is a blood thinner that helps prevent blood clots in your brain and your heart, preventing strokes and heart attacks. And we used to prescribe it to lots of people all the time. But now the unfortunate thing about aspirin is that it has some risks associated with it, like bleeding and ulcers. Yeah. So in the right patient populations, like if you've had a stent, if you've had a heart attack, if you've had a stroke, aspirin is still a good idea. But when we look at it for other people who don't have those risk factors, sometimes we no longer prescribe aspirin. So it's important to have a discussion with your doctor because every person's decision should be personal.
Okay. Fish oil. I'm hearing fish oil here, fish oil there, fishy, 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 fishy.
Yeah, so for a long time, science has noted that some populations where they eat more fish than red meat live longer than those that don't. And so we've been really intrigued by the idea of fish oil. So omega-3 fatty acids in small studies have been associated with living longer with lower risk of heart attacks. But then we had these big trials that said maybe it doesn't help that much. More recently, we've been excited about it because there's a certain type of prescribed fish oil or omega-3 fatty acid with EPA fish oil that seems to decrease your triglycerides and increase your ability to live longer, avoiding a heart attack. So I would say the jury's still out, but more recently we've been happier about the studies associated with fish oil.
All right, there's one more.
Yeah, alcohol is the question that I get asked about the most. I saw your segment beforehand as well, so about Lent. So what I would say is this, is that we know that for heart disease, a moderate amount of alcohol consumption or less can actually decrease your risk for heart disease. Yeah, so we think that heart disease actually can cause antioxidant effects in your body and actually increase your good cholesterol. So that's good news. And what we mean by a moderate amount of consumption is for a guy, less than 1.5 glasses of wine per day, about 5-ounce glasses, so not huge glasses, per day, can actually be beneficial. But here's the big with alcohol. So we do know that alcohol may be good for the heart, but alcohol is associated with a higher risk for cancer, lots of ulcers, and if you take the whole picture in mind, it probably is that if you're not drinking, don't start now, and you got to make sure that your consumption is moderate or less. So because of those thoughts, I don't get invited to a lot of parties because people don't want to hear that, but it's the truth about alcohol.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here, doctor, but are all the doctors really cool like you at HonorHealth?
I hope so.
I hope so, because I feel very comfortable because I'm a guy, and again, I avoid going to the doctor because I'm scared of what he's going to say, but sit and talk with you, I feel comfortable and like want to pretty much come see you to take care of myself.
I appreciate you saying that. Here's the reality. Heart disease is still a big deal. It's a big killer. But it's incumbent upon all of us to be proactive about knowing our risk factors, knowing our symptoms. And there's a lot we can do to prevent heart disease and make sure that it doesn't impact us.
I love it. I know what I want to do with you, maybe for next month or something, we do a stress test.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to show.
Right?
Yeah, there are different ways to diagnose heart disease. We'd love to have you.
Very quickly tell people where they can find you and, of course, more information about our hearts.
Sure. So please reach out to HonorHealth.com, and we have a lot of information about heart disease and about how to prevent heart disease and how to treat it. So please reach out there.
Thanks,
nice
Doctor.
to see you again. Thanks for having me.